Hi everyone, my name is Emma Hamaker-Teals, and I'll be doing my project on the Washington Culvert Crisis, an analysis of the implications of court injunction on state-owned culvert removals in Western Washington. So for my motivation, I wanted to talk about my background and my why I wanted to talk about culverts. I've always been interested in the environment and restoration, and I feel like those go hand in hand. As Erin said, I've always had a passion for policy and how those interact. And being born and raised in Washington, salmon have had a big impact on me. And I love learning about how all of these things interact and how humans impact these. So this kind of brought me to my research question,
Accurate.
which was how has key court decisions affected culvert removal in Western Washington? This graphic that I have up was one of my first graphics that I saw about the interactions between culverts and salmon. And I loved it, and so I wanted to include it as it was one of my initial motivation or motivators. So I'll do a quick project overview. I'm going to talk about culverts and their consequences. I'll dive into some historical background. I'll then talk about my methods, results, discussions. I'll then do a 2013 to 2025 comparison, and then I'll talk about implications and next steps. A culvert is a structure that allows water to flow under roads and cross over streams and rivers, and they funnel stormwater off of the roadways. And in Washington, we have a lot of precipitation and a lot of rainfall, and we have a lot of rivers and streams. And so as our Washington state infrastructure grew, culverts were the solution. Although with culverts, there are some caveat and issues with culverts. If improperly installed, they can pose a threat to fish, and if they're designed improperly or not designed with the purpose of fish passage, that can also cause a barrier. It's also important to know that streams are fluid bodies of water and constantly move and change direction. And culverts are fixed structures that cannot move. And so if a stream moves, a culvert is now ineffective and is no longer reliable. And so that means that culverts need to be maintained in order for them to remain effective. In Washington, we have a lot of salmon, as Emily kind of showed for us in the last presentation. Salmon also have a lot of issues with habitat fragmentation. They need a connected habitat for them to be able to move around and have the most success in life. And so culverts cause habitat fragmentation because they're no longer able to move upstream. And this causes disrupted life cycles, limited gene pools, and sometimes premature death. So now I'll be going on to some historical background about the culvert case. In 1970s, the Bolt decision was decided. And there's two main outcomes from this. One is that tribes take 50% of salmon harvest, and the other one is that Washington State is required to maintain the habitat for salmon and for the tribes to be able to take 50%. So this leads me to my 2001 request for determination, where 21 tribes of Western Washington came to the district court to say that culverts are linked to salmon decline and block salmon from moving upstream. In 2007, District Court Judge Martinez agreed and created an injunction. In 2013, the tribes again came to the district court saying that Washington needed to accelerate the pace of removal as culverts were still blocking salmon and the salmon population was still declining. So here we have a map. In black, we have the case boundary. And so all of the culverts in that case boundary are going to be injunction-related culverts. I created this map on ArcGIS. I also have shown the distribution, the historic, documented, and presumed presence of Chinook and sockeye salmon. The blue is going to be the Chinook, and pink or magenta color will be the sockeye. So after the 2013 permanent injunction, there was two major outcomes from that. One is that culverts are blocking salmon, and that the other one is that barrier culverts decrease salmon stocks. Washington State was then told to remove these culverts, and then they petitioned to the Ninth Circuit Court in 2017 to not have to remove as many culverts and have a linear sentence, which the Ninth Circuit Court upheld the district court in a 3-0 unanimous decision. And then Washington then petitioned the case for the Supreme Court, which in 2018, the Supreme Court affirmed the Ninth Circuit Court ruling and the District Court ruling in 2013, saying that Washington had to remove these culverts. So there's kind of two major implications from this. One, we were given the 2030 date to remove these culverts. This was done in 2013, which is 17 years after the 2013 permanent injunction. And then the other one is that the state is required to reevaluate non-barrier culverts once every 10 years to determine whether they remain passable, which went back to my later comment about maintaining culverts. And so this is to make sure that the state does that. So for my research project, or for my thesis, I wanted to look at how culverts and state-owned culverts removed change over the 4 time periods significant to the court. And I was also looking at how culvert removal is correlated to the year of removal. So for my 4 categories for significant to the time, significant to the court orders and time periods, Group A is going to be 2001 to 2007, which is going to be seen in pink. And this is going to be the request for determination. So the time period in between the court, the tribes coming to the court to say that culverts block salmon and the court agreeing. And Group B is going to be 2008 to 2012, seen in blue, which is pre-permanent injunction. So this is up until the 2013 permanent injunction. Group C is going to be 2013 to 2018, seen in green, which is going to be post-permanent injunction. Group D is going to be 2019 to 2024, seen in red, and that is post the Supreme Court ruling. And the graph here kind of shows the distribution of the removals. So my next question, I wanted to look at the influence of endangered species on culvert removals. So to answer this, the question was, how has the percent of state-owned culverts that are removed within a watershed vary by endangered species status, looking at endangered and non-endangered? And the 2 species that I looked at were Chinook and sockeye, seen in the previous map. So the map here on the left shows total culverts owned by WSDOT. And see, all of these culverts are following state highways and roads, which is why WSDOT is the main entity removing them, is because they're linked to roads. And next we have on the right, the map is the removed culverts from 2001 to 2024. In interpreting and analyzing my results, looking at my court periods significant to the injunction, Group A had a total of 107 culverts removed. Group B had 54, Group C had 90, and Group D had 121 culverts removed. Group A and B had 0 injunction-related culverts removed, and that is because the injunction was placed in 2013, and both of these dates are pre-2013. So we'll see Group C have the first amount of culverts that are injunction-related removed, and that has 66, while Group D had 110, having a majority of the culverts that were removed be injunction-related. So we kind of saw a pickup in that, and then there was an insignificant correlation between the number of culverts removed and the year of removal. So looking at how the percentage of state-owned culverts removed by endangered species status vary, my main key takeaways, I did find that more culverts were removed with endangered species presence than without. So for my discussion, my Group A had 2001 from 2007 had around 15.3% rate of removal per year. Group B was 2008 2012 had around 10.8. Group C was 2013 to 2018 had around 15. And Group D had the most with 2019 to 2024 with 20.2% of culverts removed each year. Moving on to my presence absence in watersheds. With more culverts that were removed within watersheds containing endangered species, a median of 4.85 means that half of the watersheds with endangered species presence had more than 4.8% of their culverts removed. There is a caveat to that. Of the 82 watersheds I looked at, 71 of the 82 had endangered species presence, which means that could have skewed the data in some ways. Now I would like to go to the comparison of 2013 and the 2025, kind of where we are now. So in 2013, this is after the permanent injunction, and these were kind of the culverts that were listed. So there's 1,014 culverts left to be removed. 847 had significant habitat gain, and 167 had limited habitat gain. In 2025, there's 974 culverts left to be removed. 774 have significant habitat gain, 190 limited, and 10 unknown. The 10-year reevaluation that I talked about previously happened in 2021, so the numbers did slightly change from then. For total injunction culverts removed, there's 176, and miles opened is around 650. For implications and next steps, there are a couple current issues. Meeting the 2030 deadline, as there's around 900 culverts left to be removed and only 4 years until we hit the 2030 deadline. It's kind of unsure of that if we will meet that goal and what to do next. The next kind of issue is with the time of the removals. Each project can range from weeks to months, which can have issues with community members having constant construction. Another issue is the cost of removal. Some Seattle Times reporters and community members have talked about the Port Angeles project, culvert removal project that is around $100 million projected, and community members have had maybe qualms about if that is the right solution to go. There's habitat gain as well. So when I talked about previously about having limited and habitat gain and more habitat gain. Looking at the limited habitat gain, not a lot of people are interested in that removal as it's limited benefit, even though all culvert removals are important. Some solutions can be seen in Senate Bill 5804, which is a bill on our energy. And this would create, it was a 10-year bill, and it would create around $500 billion for these culvert removals over the next 10 years. And that is currently in the Rules Committee for further consideration. I would like to thank my MES faculty, including Dr. Erin Martin, Dr. Carrie Leroy, Mike Roop, and Avery Azar for all your help. I would also like to thank my friends and family, my MES cohort, my MES study buddies, my peer review groups, and my family.